Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. In today's segment, I wanted to cover foreign bank account reporting, or the FBAR filing for foreign crypto assets, right? So for those of you US taxpayers that are watching this, you're probably familiar with the FBAR filing. It's basically if you have any kind of foreign bank account and it reaches a certain threshold during the year, you have to file an FBAR, a Form 114, with FinCEN, right? You've got to do that every year if the value of the account hits a certain amount. Well, there's a lot of controversy in the crypto space right now because they're trying to figure out whether or not if you have a foreign crypto account, let's say with a foreign exchange, and you're holding cryptocurrency in that exchange, does that constitute a foreign financial account that needs to be reported? And so, today we want to cover briefly that, and it's important to note that there's two separate reporting regimes here, right? There's the FBAR filing with FinCEN, and then there's separate foreign financial disclosures that might have to go to the IRS. It's almost completely separate rules. There is some overlap, but we'll cover that on the slide after this, right? So again, to kind of cover the FBAR generally again, this is used to report your ownership, interest, or signature authority over an account, and that's important, right? So if you beneficially own the account, you might have to report it, or if you just have signature authority, right? So that frequently happens if you work for a company that has foreign accounts and you might be a treasurer, right? So you have signature authority over the account, even though it's not your money, you still have signature authority over it, and you might personally need to file an FBAR. Okay, so now U.S. people are investing in crypto. The space is getting huge. It's almost out of control at this point with the amount of kind of scam altcoins we're seeing. But U.S. persons are going both overseas and staying here locally to invest in these exchanges, right? So, for example, you have Coinbase and Kraken, U.S. exchanges. Ascendex, or formerly BitMax, I think it was a Swiss-based exchange. And so what's the different reporting if you go with one or the other, right? So if a U.S. person is able to open a crypto account with a foreign exchange, how is that reported, if at all? So FinCEN published this notice at the end of December, and they said, look, as of now, if you hold virtual currency, right, in a foreign exchange, that is not a foreign financial account that needs to be disclosed, right? That's not reportable. This is the current definition, but they also alluded to in the notice that, look, we're going to amend the regulations to make it reportable because it basically is a foreign financial account, right? And then they have this little caveat down here, this last bullet point I have down here. Foreign accounts that allow for otherwise reportable financial accounts can be reportable. So what does that mean? It means that if you go to an exchange, so let's say BitMax or Ascendex, whichever one you use is a foreign exchange, and you're holding virtual currency, if they offer another kind of financial product that would meet the definition of a financial account, then you're going to have to report it. So for example, if you transfer Bitcoin into a foreign exchange, and then they have an option where you can cash out in US dollars, and so you can hold US dollars through their custodial accounts, that looks like a bank account. So that's reportable, right? So that's a very important thing to note, is a lot of these exchanges, a lot of them don't offer that feature, right? Because they don't even hold a lot of US dollars in some cases. Most of the US exchanges have to, obviously. But if you're holding virtual currency in a foreign exchange that offers that little side product, you might have to report it. And it's not just US dollars, it's any kind of fiat currency, or if you could trade stocks or bonds in it, that would also count. Okay, so next slide. So that covers the FBAR filing. Again, the takeaway is, look, for the FBARs, it's not a financial account now, but very soon FinCEN is going to change the regs where it will be. So you might be able to get away with not reporting it now. I see a lot of people file an FBAR kind of on a protective basis. So they say, look, we have no problem disclosing this to the IRS. So if I have a foreign exchange account with Ascendex and it's valued at $30,000 worth of Bitcoin, I'm just going to report that on my FBAR and let them know that I've got it, and done. You're happy to do that. You can definitely do that. If you want to be a little more conservative and cautious, but at this point, you don't have to, okay? So the 8938, this is the other one I was talking about with the IRS regs. So the IRS, to piggyback the FinCEN thing, is they implemented US FACA and they implemented their own kind of foreign financial asset disclosures. And there is overlap. And the reason there's overlap is because you're reporting to two different authorities, right? FinCEN is a completely separate government agency from the Internal Revenue Service. FinCEN's perhaps more concerned with things like money laundering, terrorist financing, other kinds of illicit, businesses where you're transferring funds around the world, right? With the IRS, they certainly care about those issues, but they're more concerned with just tax evasion, right? They know that, well, people used to send money overseas and invest in these assets, hold these bank accounts, and they would not just park the money there, but they would earn a return on their investment. And as a U.S. taxpayer, any kind of income you earn from whatever source derived, whether it's in a Cayman bank account or in a Swiss account, you've got to report the income on your return and pay the taxes. And so they implemented all these other kind of rules. This is one of them, where if you have foreign financial accounts, you have to separately disclose them on the 8938, in addition to actually recording the income and paying the income tax on whatever the earnings are. So in the 8938, for the IRS here, they haven't been as bold as FinCEN, right? So they haven't come out and said that crypto in a foreign account is a financial account, it's a foreign financial asset, and you got to disclose it. They haven't said that. But with the IRS, the way the Treasury that writes the regs, and with the IRS and all their rules, they are purposefully vague on a lot of these issues for this reason, right? They want you to kind of just assume that it's got to be reportable, right? And so, like, for example here, just two scenarios, it kind of comes down to how would they define a foreign financial account. So if it's in a paper wallet or a hardware wallet, and then you store it in a safety deposit box, right? So you load up some Ethereum on a paper wallet, print it out, and then you fly to the Cayman Islands and you put it in a safe deposit box in the Caymans. So it's under the custody of a foreign bank, it's in a foreign country, but it's not really a foreign financial asset, maybe, because it's not in an exchange. It's not in a financial institution that's holding custody of it for you, right? At least not in an electronic format. That's one where it's kind of in the middle. I mean, I think that in that scenario, it's probably not a foreign financial asset. But yeah, the IRS might say differently. So then the second example, if it is stored electronically with an exchange, and that it's an actual company in a foreign country, it might be registered as a foreign financial institution in that country. Now it starts to teeter on the edge of, like, this looks like a bank, or this looks like some sort of custodian, and you've got a foreign financial account. This is just like you having a bank account. This is just like you opening a brokerage account and you buy stocks and bonds through it. It's even like you go into an insurance company and getting a cash value life insurance product. It starts to look like a foreign financial account. And so in that case, I think that would be disclosed separately on the 8938. I think if you've got cryptocurrency held in a non-US exchange, you should be reporting it. I think it's important to report it again because the guidance is kind of limited right now, and knowing how the IRS would challenge this, I think they would land on the side of it's a foreign financial asset. Now again, if you earn money trading the crypto, that 100% has to be disclosed on your return. You pay tax on it. So if you're already paying the tax on it, I mean, I think in this case, just go ahead and disclose the asset and that'll cover you, right? And so lastly, how are the crypto exchanges treated under US FACA? US FACA is kind of part of this disclosure regime. So back in 2014, the IRS, or the US government rather, signed FACA IGAs with all these countries, which said, okay, if you've got any US account holders that are in your banks, they're in your brokerage companies, they're in your hedge funds, they're in your private equity companies, you have to give us data on those holdings. You have to let us know every year what U.S. persons have accounts with your institutions. That's what FATCA requires. So, of course, if a crypto exchange is treated as an FFI under FATCA, then you can kind of bet that if it's an FFI and it wants to comply with FATCA, it's going to be giving the federal government your information anyway. So the last thing you want is them to send the information to the IRS, you don't report it, and it triggers an audit, right? The IRS starts digging through it and finds that, oh, Jason had $100,000 in Bitcoin with this exchange in Cyprus, and he didn't report any of it on an 8938, so we're going to start an audit and we're going to hammer him with penalties. You don't want to find yourself in that position. So, yeah, again, the takeaway is, for the FBAR with FinCEN right now, as of the making of this video, which is in June 2021, you probably don't have to report it on an FBAR filing. I would kind of suggest you still do, honestly, because the IRS is going to figure out, they're going to get this information anyway. They're going to know whether you have these holdings or not. But so far, FinCEN says you don't have to do it. So you can pass on it if you'd like. With the IRS disclosures, the 8938, I would definitely report anything you have. If it meets the thresholds, again, you've got to make a certain amount of money, and the fair value of the assets has to be a certain value. It's all in the 8938 instructions. But yeah, that's the differentiation. I think for the 8938, go ahead and report it. It is a financial account. For FBAR, you can pass on it for now, but in the future, like they said, they are going to change the regs anyway to make it a financial account. So, I don't know how much longer that's going to take for them to get there, but you can expect that it's going to happen. So, hope that was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks.